I really think it's important for all young voters to get out and spread the vote, especially this year.
I think it's easy, especially for young people, feel like, oh, they don't have the time, or maybe their vote doesn't matter that much. But I think, even just the process of getting out there and feeling like you're doing something, and even though, New York is a blue state, that doesn't mean that the lower ballot races don't matter.
Recently, I just got my citizenship, so it's my first time being able to vote in an election, which is a really huge thing for me and my family. I don't really, it's a huge thing, voting in this election especially.
I feel like it's our duty as citizens to vote and make sure that our world and our country is led by people who we feel have and can make good decisions for our citizens.
For those who are in the area, that provides a whole new level of accessibility. And I think for me, what I've learned is that a lot of it is just the youth are a very, or the 18 to 24 demographic, we just move a lot compared to other demographics. So registration and things, there's just different barriers that we face. And I think a lot of times the narrative is youth aren't excited, youth don't care, but that's not really the case. There's actually just a lot of institutional barriers. And I think addressing those has been a big part of the work that we do, and something that we can also keep doing.
Or tolerate Trump for what he is, or you say you want to get rid of him. It could be and of course many Republicans feel that way. Many people have been in Republican administrations, for example, or Republican talking heads even. So not so much people in Congress because they're still yoked to Trump, but others. And so that makes a difference. So basically, it's going to be, I think if Biden wins, as we expect he will, but we're not sure if Biden wins, there'll be something like, we'll be all feeling it emotionally, let me put it that way.
I think the popular vote is also something that should be counted and should be, something that can actually express the amount of Americans that actually believe one way or another which candidate should be in office. So I think it's really important, even if you're in one state that sways one way and not a battleground state, to go out and vote.
We elect, leaders for our country, leaders for our states, leaders for our local communities.
Maybe this year and this election season, people are less shocked. I think people are more nervous because they kind of see how divided our country is, or how Trump doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? People support him, people have voted for him, people have been going to his rallies, and that's why he has the platform that he does, in addition to lots of structural issues, of course. And so I think that's maybe what's different, is that maybe in a bad way, I feel a little cynical saying that, but it feels more realistic to have him win because he's been the president of the United States for the last 4 years, whereas I think in 2016 everyone was not a chance at all.
I voted absentee. I'm from Alabama, so I sent in my ballot a few weeks ago.
I have voted. I voted absentee because I'm from Pennsylvania. It's a very important swing state, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But overall, I feel like everybody's kind of anxious, so I'm the same amount of anxious. Trying to keep myself busy today, especially, but.
I hope that as a whole, everyone's vote means more this election, because I've been encouraged by the number of people, I think, who have never voted before, who are deciding to vote in this election. I'm still nervous in general because I think it'll be a contested election no matter what. But I guess it's better to try to be optimistic than to be nervous until we see what happens in the next few weeks.
One I was using was Ballotpedia, where they just sort of list all the candidates, so you can find out even about the ones that you maybe haven't heard about before.
Phone banking, one was surprised to see how many undecided voters there actually are. That was maybe more so a couple weeks ago when I was calling people. I was surprised to get undecided voters in Michigan, and some of whom were young people, which was really surprising to me. But also I think another thing that was cool was within the phone banking, they have different lists, so you can speak to people of your ethnic origin or of your cultural group. So I was leaving voicemails in Punjabi, which is the language I grew up speaking. And I think that was something that was definitely really unique. My Punjabi kind of sucks. So voters would either be laughing at the voicemails I was leaving them or be encouraged to vote. But I think that was a small silver lining of hope that I saw, was that there are communities that are being reached out to that are traditionally not. So I'm just hoping that like at least those communities feel heard or feel seen, and I'm hoping that they're showing up to the polls.
Yeah, we're going to be living with this, and especially the candidate that we choose today and on election day, for not only the 4 years, but also the consequences of what the policies are in place. So,
in some ways, the future of our democracy is at stake.
But above all, there are long-term issues. How we live together. I think we cannot divide. We cannot, we cannot throw away some people in our economy or in our country because of either the color of their skin, because of their gender, because of their sexual orientation, because of their religion. Above all, how do we live together as human beings?
I think just like overall safety, I'm very scared for, my family and my community. So I think that's probably what's biggest at stake, like white supremacy and the rise of white supremacy in America is a huge, huge thing that's very palpable, like moments after we get the election results.
Our team, our executive board, is the fact that we don't want polarization to get to the point where the elections are delegitimized, where the process is delegitimized, where extra legal mechanisms are used, or perhaps maybe within the bounds of legality, but outside the bounds of legitimacy, right? Certain mechanisms are used to kind of create undemocratic outcomes, which don't reflect the results of the election, right? These are the things that we're very concerned about. And I think these are some issues that are coming up in this election that uniquely we haven't seen before.
Honestly, what I think about more than like me personally is a lot of friends that I have who will be affected a lot more than me. I think that depending who gets elected, it has really big implications for minority groups, for my friends who are LGBT, who, my friends who had to take on a lot more student loans than I had to. I think that there's all sorts of considerations that I'm worried about them for myself, but I'm much more worried about it for people who I think, people who I love, who have more reason to be concerned than me.
I just think that I would like to have a presidential president again, somebody who respects the systems of government that we have in place, and I think that's what's at stake. We've had 4 years of kind of disrepair, and I'd like 4 years of repair.